Bugatti didn't think that we were going to be able to separate this car in half and put it back together.
A $4 million hypercar, written off, blacklisted, left for dead, and 2 YouTubers just did something Bugatti swore was impossible. This is the inside story of how Matt Armstrong and Alex Gonzalez took on the most powerful hypercar manufacturer on the planet and came out the other side with an engine running, a body wider than anything Molshim ever built, and a phone call from the CEO himself. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why Bugatti never wanted this car back on the road. Let's rewind. Alex Gonzalez isn't your average car guy. Online is known as FexXG, a Miami-based influencer who built his name in finance and forex trading, then poured his fortune into one of only 60 Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport hypercars ever made. 1,600 horsepower, a price tag north of $4 million. The kind of machine most people will never even sit inside. And then, in an instant, it was gone. Not stolen, not vandalized. Rear-ended into a small Japanese mini-truck, a vehicle worth almost nothing next to the car it had just destroyed. The front end crumpled, airbags deployed, the hood was gone, and when Bugatti looked at the damage, they came back with a number that made even a millionaire flinch, $1.7 million to repair it. Gonzalez said no, and that single decision triggered a chain of events nobody saw coming. Because here's what most people don't understand about buying a hypercar. You don't just own the metal. You're locked into the manufacturer forever. When Gonzalez refused Bugatti's repair quote, the company did something drastic. They blacklisted the car's VIN, locked it, permanently. That meant no dealership on Earth, anywhere in the world, was allowed to sell parts of that specific Chiron ever again. Not a bolt, not a sensor, not a single carbon fiber panel. Bugatti had essentially declared this car dead and made sure it could never legally come back to life through official channels. The car was hauled off to a cop art salvage auction, sitting there in pieces, waiting for someone crazy enough to take it on. That someone was Matt Armstrong. If you don't know the name yet, you will by the end of this video. Armstrong is a British YouTuber with millions of subscribers, and his entire channel is built on one obsession: resurrecting cars everyone else gave up on. Wrecked Ferraris, crashed Lamborghinis, cars insurance companies wrote off without a second thought. But nothing compared to what he was about to walk into. Gonzalez didn't sell the wreck outright. Instead, he bought it back from Cop Art himself for close to $2 million and brought Armstrong in to do what Bugatti refused to: fix it, privately, off the books, with zero factory support. And that's when the real war began. Because a Bugatti isn't a normal car. It has 10 separate radiators. 10. A W16 engine so complex that Bugatti's own CEO went on camera and said its most intricate components physically could not be replicated outside their factory. Armstrong and his team stripped the car down and found the damage went far deeper than anyone expected. The chassis was cracked. The wiring was destroyed. Components that would normally be a phone call away were now completely off-limits, locked out by a VIN ban that treated this car like it no longer existed. Most people would have scrapped it right there. Armstrong didn't. Instead, he made a promise to his millions of viewers. If Bugatti wouldn't help him fix his car the right way, he'd find another way. Anyway, and that's exactly when Bugatti noticed him. Because when Gonzalez posted online that he might 3D print replacement parts for a multi-million-dollar hypercar, it didn't just go viral. It landed directly in the inbox of Bugatti Rimac CEO, mate Rimac. And Rimac didn't ignore it. He responded personally, warning that a car this complex, moving at speeds over 300 miles an hour, is not something you gamble with. One mistake in a structural repair, and a showpiece becomes a coffin. It's not corporate paranoia, it's physics. But Armstrong and Gonzalez weren't backing down, and neither was Rimac. What followed was one of the strangest public standoffs the automotive world has ever seen. A billion-dollar manufacturer trading blows, in public, with 2 guys working out of a garage. So how do you rebuild a car when the company that built it refuses to sell you a single part? You get creative. Brutally creative. Armstrong's team turned to CNC machining and 3D scanning to recreate components Bugatti wouldn't sell. They tracked down a mechanic known online as Bob from the machine shop to help repair the shattered front chassis by hand. When they needed new airbags, parts you'd assume only exist inside a Bugatti, they found a workaround nobody expected. They sourced them from an Audi A3, a economy hatchback, feeding safety components into a $4 million hypercar. It sounds almost insulting. It worked. Then came the radiators, all 10 of them, custom built from scratch to replace the ones a crash had destroyed. A specialist outfit called Valvetronic fabricated a custom exhaust system when Bugatti's original was completely unobtainable. Piece by piece, system by system, a car that Bugatti had essentially declared unrepairable was clawing its way back from the dead, using parts the manufacturer never approved, in a process the manufacturer never sanctioned, built by people the manufacturer never wanted anywhere near this car. And then came the moment nobody thought they'd actually see. With the front and rear halves of the Chiron finally bolted back together, the team turned the key. And it started. That 1600 horsepower W16 engine, the one Bugatti swore couldn't be safely revived outside their factory in Molsheim, roared back to life in a private garage, built by hands Bugatti never trained and parts Bugatti never sold. If you ever wondered what disbelief sounds like, it's an engine note echoing off the walls of a shop that was never supposed to hear it again. But Armstrong wasn't finished. Not even close. Because somewhere along the way, this stopped being just a repair and turned into something Bugatti definitely never signed off on. A Dubai-based customization house called Venuum stepped in with a wide-body kit worth an eye-watering $700,000, transforming one of only 60 Chiron Pur Sports on the planet into something wider, louder, and more aggressive than anything that ever left the factory floor. Bugatti built 60 of these cars to be exclusive. Armstrong and Gonzalez just made one of them the only one of its kind anywhere, ever. Not because Bugatti allowed it, but because Bugatti no longer had a say. Meanwhile, Armstrong wasn't just working on the Chiron. He'd taken on a second Bugatti, a repossessed Veyron with its own list of problems, from misfires to leaking radiators. And when he called Bugatti hoping they'd finally sell him parts for this one, he ran into the exact same wall. Bugatti told him flatly they don't supply parts to anyone outside their authorized network. Full stop. It didn't matter that this was a different car with a different history. The message was the same one Gonzalez had heard from the very beginning. Bugatti protects its own, and outsiders don't get a seat at the table. Armstrong pushed forward anyway, and eventually got the Veyron running well enough for a road trip across Europe. And here's the twist nobody predicted. Armstrong actually drove to Bugatti's headquarters in Molsheim, France, hoping to confront the story face to face. He picked the worst possible day, arriving on France's national holiday, when the entire facility was shut down. It should have ended there. A wasted trip, a locked gate, nothing to show for it. Except Bugatti saw the footage. And instead of staying silent, they reached out, directly, inviting Armstrong and his team back for an official visit in September. After months of public tension, blacklisted parts, and a CEO firing warnings through social media, the door that was slammed shut at the very beginning had just cracked open. So did Matt and Alex actually beat Bugatti? Depends how you define winning. The Chiron is running. It's driving under its own power. It's wearing a body kit worth more than most houses. And it exists, fully, undeniably functional, without a single approved part, without a single hour of factory labor, and without Bugatti's permission at any point along the way. That's not a technicality. That's a company that spent months insisting this exact outcome was impossible, watching it happen anyway, on camera, in front of millions of people. The car still isn't finished. There's more work ahead before it's truly complete. But make no mistake, the story Bugatti didn't want told just got its most dramatic chapter yet, and September is coming fast. But before we get to September, you need to understand exactly what Bugatti was so afraid of. Because this isn't some small startup protecting a logo. This is a company owned by Rimac, run by a founder who built his own name resurrecting a dead automotive brand and turning it into one of the most valuable hypercar makers on the planet. Mate Rimac didn't inherit this empire. He built it from a garage, chasing electric performance nobody believed in, until Porsche and eventually the entire Volkswagen group handed him the keys to Bugatti itself. This is a man who understands better than almost anyone what it means to prove doubters wrong from a workshop with no factory backing. And now here he was, on the other side of that exact fight, the establishment, warning two YouTubers that what they were attempting could get someone killed. Because that's the part of this story people forget when they are cheering for the underdog. Bugatti wasn't just protecting profit. A Chiron doesn't behave like a normal car when something goes wrong. At full throttle, this machine is pushing air over its body at speeds that would tear a badly repaired panel clean off the chassis. A crack in the wrong carbon fiber structure, invisible to the naked eye, could turn catastrophic at 200 miles an hour. Rimac's warning wasn't corporate theater. It was a genuine, documented concern from the people who understand this car's engineering better than anyone alive. And that's exactly what made Armstrong and Gonzalez's gamble so terrifying to watch unfold in real time. So let's go back inside the garage, because the rebuild itself gets even wilder the deeper you dig. Remember those 10 radiators? Most cars have one. Maybe 2 if you're talking about something exotic. The Chiron needs 10 separate cooling circuits just to keep its quad-turbocharged W16 engine from melting itself alive under full load. Sourcing replacement from Bugatti was never an option. The VIN lock made sure of that. So Armstrong's team had to reverse engineer specifications for components that were never meant to be reproduced outside a factory with billions of dollars in tooling behind it. Every millimeter mattered. Get the flow rate wrong on even one of those 10 systems, and you risk a thermal failure that could warp the entire engine block. This wasn't guesswork. This was precision fabrication under a level of pressure most home garages never come close to experiencing. And then there's a chassis repair, arguably the single most dangerous part of the entire build. This is the part of the car responsible for keeping the driver alive in a crash. Get it wrong. And you're not building a car, you're building a coffin with a great sound system. That's why Armstrong didn't try to wing it alone. He brought in a specialist known online as Bob, from the machine shop,